Welcome to Mary Walter Radio, the podcast. It is great to see everyone after a week off. I hope you had a great 2 weeks, I guess it is then, right? Yeah. So we have a guest joining us in just a couple of minutes. So thank you, everyone. So many people here early. You guys rock. Let's see who was here early. We had Oreo was in early. I know Suze was in early. Hermit Sal and Ron. And who am I missing? Let's see, Ron, Porchview Farm here early. Hey, Barry. Went to high school with Barry. He's great. Oh, I've got a hair going the wrong way here, don't I? It's always hard to see. There we go. Let's see. Okay, so we do have a guest coming on. Kay Smythe from the Daily Caller will be joining us, and she's fantastic. She's wonderful. Just a little housekeeping. If you have subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If not, seriously, it's free. What are you waiting for? All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. So that would be fantastic. If when you watch the videos, especially if you go back and you look, you have to go to Mary Walter Radio /streams or the live tab. It's the third tab over. Let me check and see which one it is. You have to, because for whatever reason, it's weird the way they do it. But Mary Walter Radio streams, there we go. You have to click the live tab and you get all of the podcasts that we've done. And if you watch them, please like them. That's fantastic. I appreciate it if you do. Also, coming up this week, actually, I don't have anything this week. It's kind of weird. It's going to do, yeah, I don't have anything this week as of right now. So that's a little weird. But next Monday, I will be on the Chris Salcedo show on Newsmax TV between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. Thank you, as always, to Evie. I appreciate you for doing the graphics. So if you're on X or if you're on Facebook or Getter or YouTube, LinkedIn or where else, True Social. I am not on Instagram. I'm sorry. I need people. That's just too much. It's just too many outlets. I'm not there. But if you're on any of those, yeah, you'll see the graphics for whoever our guest happens to be. And my wonderful friend EB, I just sent him Kay's picture last night and her title and everything. And boom, he sent it to me right away. So EB's fantastic. So EB, thank you so much. Really appreciate you for doing that. And EB's son Zach is our #1 fan, and that is why I am always the queen. I can never change that because of Zach, and Zach is absolutely amazing. Now, I also want to tell you. So the suggestion keeps coming in that we should on Tuesday's broadcast, the night of the election, on election night, that we should do election bingo. So there's not going to be a podcast that night unless I can figure out a way to stream what I am doing on election night. I will be in Memphis with Todd Starnes and a couple of others. I'm not quite sure who else is going to be there. And we will be broadcasting nationwide. I think he's got something like 60 stations across the country that will be broadcasting live election coverage, and I'll be one of the people doing that. So, but I asked Todd if we could do a drinking game, and he said, sure, why not? So if you follow me on X at Mary Walter Radio, please, because I would ask for you to do it here, but it's kind of really hard for me to write it down, and I got to go back and try to find it. If you have suggestions for the bingo card, what we could drink too, like drink if she says this, or drink if somebody does this, or if this phrase is used, whatever. Please send it to me, Mary Walter Radio on X, and I'll try to put that together. And we'll figure out a way. I'll talk to Todd, and we'll figure out a way how we can make this work during the radio show that we'll be doing on election night. So there will not be a podcast on election night. I'm super sorry, unless we can figure out a way to somehow simulcast what we're doing on the radio, because there may be video along with that. All right. So let us welcome to the show the amazing, the wonderful Kay Smythe is with us. Kay, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry my studio is so all over the place. We just moved, but thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Did you see my studio? Look at this. I'm on a bridge chair here. So
I love it. I think, do we both have fireplaces behind us? I think
yes, we do. Yeah. This one, the house is almost 150 years old, and somebody painted this fireplace behind us with red deck paint that we found in the basement. So we can't get it off. It won't come off. So
Oh
we're
my
going to be
gosh.
renovating the first floor. So I'm going to have to move my studio temporarily. This room has plaster walls that are falling down. So all the walls are coming down, and we're putting, wallboard up, and we're going to enclose that fireplace because it's covered in red deck paint. So
I mean, that's like architectural manslaughter, I think, in some ways. It looks fantastic, like it looks great, but to do it with deck paint, I don't know. We're a very like DIY family here. Like we
yeah.
do most things. Like we try and build. Like my fiance, he's great at just building stuff, and we do a lot of the DIY around the house. And I mean, some of the stuff. Like, did you know you can use toothpaste to fill like where you put nails into walls,
Uh-huh.
like that
Nail
gap,
holes.
you can
Yep.
use like
Yep.
toothpaste.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I moved to America. I also didn't realize that if you just do the one coat of paint on a dresser, that the cats will destroy that in like 20 minutes. That was another fun one when we got our new
Yes.
house. But no, I'm excited for your home reno. That's always
Uh,
a fun thing.
well, we've been renovating this home. We put an addition on it, and then I was burned out because that took years. We
Mm-hmm.
put on a back porch, a new entrance to a new kitchen. We totally redid the kitchen, moved the kitchen. Our original stove was in a fireplace in this huge fireplace. Anyways, we did all that. I burned out. I was like, I cannot have another contractor in my house. So then a couple of years ago, we did the front porch, which is enclosed. And my husband was on this crusade to put the turret back on the front of the house that was there. And it was like, I don't know, it came off somewhere along the line. Who knows? But like by the 20s, it was gone by the 1920s. So we had one picture of the turret. So we had to reconstruct the turret on the front of the house. And ever since we've done this, last 2 weeks ago when we had this podcast, I told everyone we were running on generator, number one, and number two, I had water pouring in like Niagara Falls through the roof on my porch, and it's been like 5 years, and it's nobody knows who the leak is, nobody, whatever. It's just a nightmare. So we did that. So I kind of burned down about that, and we're still fighting that battle.
Oh,
And
I'm
now
so
this is
sorry.
this is the next thing. But I will tell you, I have been, like I said, we've been doing renovations for so long on this house, and we do most of it ourselves, except the big stuff. And I am a maniac with a heat gun. I can strip wood. People who paint antique wood, there's a special place in hell for you. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have an entire room that I've been stripping, and I've shown the pictures before, and it's got this wood paneling and this and that. And somebody paints like 14 coats of paint on this thing. I can't do it. I just can't do it. So our builder is coming and he's taking it all down, and he's just putting up replica wood to just replicate the whole thing, and we're done. I
Yeah.
can't. I just can't. So
Well, I mean,
anyway,
I don't blame you. And this is something that, like I'm really grateful that both my parents really kind of enforced in me, like you need to know how to run a garden and you need to know how to do basic stuff around the house to fix
mhm.
things. And I see like so many teenagers these days, they just don't have a clue. Like they don't even know how to change a
No,
tire. There was something that came up the other day. It was like so basic to me. Oh, I guess it's a British thing to change a plug. Like, I guess you don't have to do that in America if you need to change a plug.
a plug
So,
of what?
so the plug is what we call the thing on the end of the cable that goes into the wall. And so sometimes you have to like fix them and change them. Um,
Wait, the part that
that's
you
not
stick
a
in for your blow dryer. That
Oh yeah, ours like they're about this big and they have three prongs. And I guess out here Americans are like, oh, it's terrible when you step on Lego. And I'm like, yeah, try stepping on a British plug. It's like having a fork go through your foot, but like
wait,
with really thick
wait,
spines.
so when that thing for whatever reason goes bad, you rewire it yourself and you don't burn the house down.
Yeah, I guess like I don't now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, was this just my family? Like I wouldn't put it past the Smythe family to do that kind of thing. And like I don't know. Now I'm like it might have just been us. But yeah, if they burn out, you just flip them and there's like a little fuse thing sometimes. yeah, it's just one of
Wow.
those things.
Wow. All right. Well, I want to start this off. We have a lot to talk about. And one of the things I want to talk about is kids and how, things that we did when we were younger, et cetera. So I want to get to that. But I thought it would be only fitting that we start the show. And let me put this in here with something. Let's start it with the national anthem as they did last night at the DNC. Hand over your heart, everybody.
Which one?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the
This is awful.
cloud gleaming, whose broad strides we hailed at the
Sorry.
You
I
snorted.
don't
That's
want to be disrespectful to the national anthem. Like, it's just, but come on, like, even if someone sang the Welsh national anthem like that, they just start getting booed.
yeah,
Like, what?
So they had this group of DNC women, and there were like 8 of them. They were older, whatever. I don't care, older, younger, it doesn't even matter. First of all, they couldn't sing. I don't think half of them knew the words. They started like 2 chords ahead of the recorded singer who was singing, and I guess they were just going to sing with the recorded singer. And they started ahead, so it was like row, row, row your boat, and they started to lap each other. And then some of them dropped out and stopped singing. They're just standing there looking really super confused. But the chick in the lead, man, she was powering through it. She didn't care. She was like 2 verses ahead, 2 lines ahead. She was going to power through that. It was hilarious. So I thought it only fitting that we start with the national anthem.
I'm so glad you did that. That is one of the most, I mean, doesn't that just define everything that's going on with the DNC? I love it. I love it. What a catastrophe. Bless their hearts.
Oh, all right. So I wanted to bring this up to you. Now, by the way, you are a writer for the Daily Caller, so which I know a lot of people. We have a lot of common friends from the Daily Caller because when I was on in Washington D.C., my co-host was Vince Colonnese from the Daily Caller. So of course, I got to know Tucker Carlson through Vince, and the usual characters in the Daily Caller through Vince, going to the Daily Caller News Foundation Gala, that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So Kay is steeped in everything Washington D.C. By the way, I'm going to be there in 2 weeks. I'm going to be down in Washington D.C. Lost a bet, so now I got to go.
Yeah, I was about to say, who did you wrong?
Yeah, there's a conference at George Washington University that was this way about. Now I'm going, so I'm going to go.
I mean, I think there's a lot of grief given to academia, and I think a lot of it is like absolutely justified. But I worked in journalism for many years after I moved out here, but especially back in the UK, so lied about my age to get published because I was like, it's cold all the time and it always rains, so I'll just stay inside and be a writer. That sounds like a good life. But so I spent many years in sort of journalism, and then was sort of sick of it for a few years, was going through like a bit of a political awakening, I guess, social awakening. And I worked in academics, and I was working with PhD candidates, and I'm like, every single problem has a solution. Every solution that you need for like any problem in the world, it exists in academia. But it goes and it dies in academic journals. And so anytime, I see it a lot, like I have a lot of everyone. DC is actually kind of a small town. And a lot of people come through the Daily Caller. Like a lot of people sort of cut their teeth at this, institution that Tucker and Neil like built, and Vince and Jeff and everyone. And so I always try to tell people, like, if you can do anything that's related to academics, go and do it, because even if it's just one person in that crowd that pays attention, like, that will make a difference. So I'm here for it. I'm sorry that you've got to go to DC, but I love that the situation that you're going into. Even if
it's actually a media event that's at George Washington University. They just rented out like one of the rooms. I don't know. It's at like the conference center there. So That's all I know. All I know is the hotel is 5 blocks away, and I'm just praying to God I don't get stabbed. That's all. I just want to be able to make it there without getting stabbed at 11 o'clock in the morning, and make it back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon without getting beaten in the head with a rock or whatever, or having all my belongings stolen. That's the one thing. So I'm looking forward, and I'm not allowed to carry mace or pepper spray or whatever, but I'm gonna have to risk it. So
I'm sorry.
that's whatever. Okay. I want to get your opinion on this. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
his running mate, Nicole Shanahan, who I never heard of,
Mm-mm.
they have hinted that they may suspend their campaign and throw their support behind Donald Trump. Now, this is what Newsweek is reporting, and I've seen it on a couple of other outlets. So my question to you is, now I know, here's the other thing. RFK Jr. contacted Trump's campaign and contacted Kamala's campaign about sitting down and talking.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump met with him. Harris would not.
That is interesting.
That could have been a mistake for her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you think? Do you think that will have any kind of impact on the outcome of this campaign, of this election? Do you think the RFK Jr. followers, the staunch RFK people, will go over to Trump just because he endorses Trump? Do you see that happening?
Right now, I'd say like 50-50. I feel like if RFK Jr. came out and made a really compelling argument, and really just sort of spoke authentically, as he tends to do, as I've only ever seen him do, I feel like, sorry, I just can't, like, the fact that Harris didn't sit down with him, like, that's just sort of like, that just says everything. If, like, literally, if that's all you know about her, like, that says it all. But I think it would sway like 50%. I do have a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm so sick of Trump. Like, I just don't want to deal with him. And they look at politics more like celebrity than, okay, but like, let's just take big feelings out of it. Who's going to keep us safe? Who's going to keep, who's going to keep our currency alive? I think that's one of the biggest threats that's sort of like heading towards us throughout this election season. And certainly once we're through it, that's, sorry, my phone does this where I get like these weird things that pop up on the video. It happens all the time. It's so weird. I don't know how to stop it.
Join the Android side. Join the Android side. Get off the iPhone.
Do you know what's so funny? When I first met my fiance, he had an Android, and like in the years since, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that they're a superior device. Like I only use, I don't use like an Apple laptop or anything like that. But the first time I texted him, it came up in green, and so I was like, I really need to test this guy's sense of humor. So I just texted him, oh my gosh, my texts are coming up in green. Are you poor? And he thought it was hilarious, which was the point. It's like a running joke. We all know that like Androids are way more expensive these days, but like, it's sort of like, I like to do that. But he got it and it's great. We're getting married. It's fantastic. But
well, here's the thing. Charlie
anyway,
Charlie Kirk said, RFK endorsing Trump is the natural move. They are both sworn enemies of the CIA, the FBI, and the military machine. RFK can help a lot with FDA and CDC corruption. It doesn't matter if they disagree on some issues. They agree on the big stuff, the civilization-defining issues. We must defeat Team Blue this November. So Charlie Kirk thinks it's a good idea.
I'm here for it. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think he absolutely should do it. But I there's like what the voters will think. Like, obviously I can't vote. I'm not from here. And just like what I'm hearing from my kind of crowd, I think a lot of people.
If you're not from, wait. No, who cares if you're not from here? Go down,
I know.
get your license. They'll hand you a form, fill it out, and vote like everybody else, right? I'm not. I'm not advocating. It's a joke.
When I lived in California, I used to get sent ballots all the time. But now I live in like rural North Carolina, which is great. I sort of fled this sort of DC thing. I don't have to live there. I just sort of work there and have to go there every now and again, sort of like you. But if I still lived in California, there's no way I'd still want to live in America because I would be so like mentally shattered. So maybe I would vote. Maybe I'd just be like, let's just do it
Screw
one
it.
time. Yeah, screw it. Why not? I'll write a book about it one day. I don't know. But no, I like my life, but it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, that's going to happen. I think we all know that that's, going to happen in this election. But I think, yeah, Trump, here's the thing. He has the potential to make the most like globally changing revolutionary cabinet like in history. He's basically sitting at like the turn of the last century or the century before. And it's just like, okay, instead of like JP Morgan and all these guys, I'm actually going to go with like Nikola Tesla. And I'm going to choose those guys who have figured out how to actually use water as fuel as well. We're going to go with those guys too. We're not going to go with the Federal Reserve, and the Titanic isn't going to sink. That's basically like what he could do with this cabinet, with like Elon Musk, with RFK Jr., like the big pharma stuff, and the environmental stuff. That's why I like RFK, because I'm a hippie.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's got like he could save the national parks, and that's something I really care about because I'm a geography nerd. But I think it would be genius. Whether he'll do it, I think it'll be a true test of his ego. What do you think? Do you think he's gonna?
I think that yes, Donald Trump has a huge ego, but I also think
Oh, I meant RFK.
Oh, RFK. Oh,
I think Trump would do it.
But I think RFK would do it too. I don't know as much about him, but the fact that he wanted to sit down and speak with each of them kind of tipped his hand a little bit. And I think RFK is smart enough to realize that I may not be the president, but if I can be in the administration, I can have an effect on it and still get something done. So it may not be, I may not be the bride, but it's better to be a bridesmaid than to not be nothing at all.
Yeah.
So you still got to wear the ugly dress, whatever. Yeah.
I think that's
so.
brilliant.
I just want to go to some of the comments here. Lots of people saying, welcome to Kay. Gregory called it the Star Mangled Banner.
Oh, that's so good.
Oreo says, what the heck did I just witness? Sue's singing it in a round. Yikes. Porchview Farm talking about the DNC. It was terrible. I finally gave up during Warnock. It was excruciating. I didn't. Did you watch it last night? I didn't. I admit I didn't watch it.
No, I respect myself and my time. I have to read about this stuff all day. Like if you're not engaged and it's not something that you are constantly exposed to, like, yeah, go do it. I mean, I am going to go watch like Trump on Theo Von tonight, obviously, because like who wouldn't want to do that? I don't think it's out yet, but I don't know. Like watching the DNC, oh, I've got the weirdest deja vu. That's a good sign, though. That means I'm in the right place. But no, I couldn't think of anything worse.
Elkie Bob, I never know how to say this. Over on Getter says the agony. Bread of Life Fellowship wants everyone to know that Satan is the God of this world. It's all a lie, all of it. Preach Jesus. Well, thank you very much there. Hermit Sal says, what was that? The DEI version of the national anthem? Diversity, equity, indigestion. Hermit Sal, it seems to me that academia is not too academic anymore.
Yeah.
Watching your back says, hey, some of us have to work in DC.
That's so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Scott says they were talking about his what does he have, the dysphonia that he has, RFK Jr. has in his voice. His mom had it. I don't know if it's familial, but I know his mom had it as well, and that it would be difficult for him to give speeches. Yeah, it's tough to listen to, but I also get it. So it's he can't do anything about it. So
it was a vaccine injury, I think.
Really?
I think, yeah, we watched him. He did Rogan. He did Tim Dillon. You can tell the kind of stuff that I watch to turn my mind off. It's just like my fiance always says, "Go watch your trash, babe." But RFK was like incredible, and I'm 99% sure that it was a vaccine-related injury. I'm pretty sure that's what he said on Rogan, because I don't think he had it. It was something that came on.
It's a neurological condition called spasmodic dysphonia. It's also known as laryngeal dysphonia. It doesn't affect it affects 1 in every 50,000 people. Usually develops between the ages of 30 and 50. The causes are not clear, but one study found that 65% of people with the condition previously had measles or mumps.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
a separate study found the measles and mumps vaccine helped protect against developing the condition.
Oh, weird.
An interesting
Who
finding.
funded those studies?
Yeah. So yeah. So I typed in him, with a vaccine injection. Botox injections are the gold standard therapy. It's a short-term solution, requires an injection every 3 to 6 months.
God,
Huh.
can you imagine if you got that wrong though, in that part of your body? Like I worked in opticians when I was a teenager, and we had a woman come in, and she had gotten Botox here, and she sort of like took her sunglasses off, and like we all knew her, like we were friends and stuff, and we thought she'd had a stroke. Like her whole side of her face was like somewhere down here. She's like, it'll wear off, but like, thank God they didn't do it anywhere else.
You know what though? My father has macular degeneration. He gets shots in his eyeballs. I'd rather get a shot like in my neck than in my eyeball. So, I got
Oh my
I
God.
got that
Wait,
down the line, so I got that to look forward to.
I was gonna say,
Um,
so my family's also macular degeneration, and I didn't know there was anything for it.
yeah,
That's
you get the
amazing.
shot in the eyeball and you eat, and we're off on a tangent. Here we go. They did a study and they found that Asian people don't have macular degeneration very much. And they did a study in Japan or somewhere. They replicated it in California, and they found that if you eat 1 ounce of goji berries 5 days a week, it actually helps to slow down the progression of macular degeneration. And now they're doing studies to find out if they can prevent or reverse it.
That's
So
amazing.
guess who has goji berries on autofill from Amazon? A new bag every month, right here.
You're gonna have to send me the link of the ones that you get, and I'm just gonna order
Okay.
it, and that'll be that. And that
I
will
and
like
if
we'll
you
compare notes.
and if you have blue eyes, you're more likely to
Yes.
get it too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, let's see. Now Tax USA just got here, says on RFK, I think we're in a Reagan moment, and there are many conservative Democrats going to vote Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I never, ever, ever, the glass is always half empty to me, because I would rather be the way I was in 2016 at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
screaming, crazed because Trump pulled it off, than I was in 2020 when I went to bed thinking he won it. I woke up the next day, I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What just happened? So
Mm-hmm.
I want to prepare for the world ending. And then if I got, food rations I have to eat for the next 6 months because I was a little over prepared because I really thought it was going to happen. Okay. That's better than starving.
I'm here for it. I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon. Like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Oreo Herman South says RFK Jr.'s family has also shunned him. That's true. They did. They came out against him. Remember? They all came out against him.
Who was the one of the Kennedys? He gave the he was like a golden boy there for a minute. The ginger one, Democrat. He gave the what's this like when Trump did the State of the Union, he gave the
A
Democrat
rebuttal.
address,
The rebuttal.
and he
It wasn't.
sweated the whole time.
I don't know who that was.
That was a
I don't know.
Kennedy, but he was like this golden child. And I remember he got up and he gave this speech, and it was supposed to be like, okay, we're going to like set him up to run in 2020. And he had some weird sweat thing, and then he just disappeared. Like he was just gone. And I'm like, yeah, he's a good looking guy. Like I'm fine with a redhead, but like, like he ruined it. He ruined it for himself. But I'm like, that's all the Democrats think about. They're just like, he looks good. Doesn't matter
Oh, I
if you
know.
can't string a sentence together when requested, but like, who feels just like the vibe?
I love the accent. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
that's how they do it. It's like
All right,
California.
Porchview Farm says, I do not trust RFK Jr. He is a Democrat, a Kennedy, and has a Google ex-wife running mate and a CIA daughter-in-law running his campaign. Black helicopter alert. Maybe so, but he's not going to be the VP. And don't forget, who is helping Donald Trump now prepare for his debate with Kamala Harris? Tulsi Gabbard.
I like Tulsi.
Yeah, well, listen, yes, she was a Democrat, but that doesn't mean because I think the Democrat Party has moved so far to the left that there's a lot of people who are Democrats who now are independents just because they're like, those people have gone to crazy town. And that doesn't mean just because I was on the bus, I can't get off the bus.
Yeah.
So I believe that RFK Jr., I think he can bring, as we both said before, he can bring something to the ticket that could be very valuable. And just because he's a Democrat, listen, back in the day, the reason in the Electoral College you cast two ballots, one for the president and one for the vice president, is because back in the day, whoever got the most votes, you could have a president who was Republican and a vice president who was a Democrat. Didn't Kennedy have a mix? Excuse me, Lincoln. Wasn't Lincoln's vice president a Democrat?
I should probably be learning this stuff now that I'm going to be living here forever. But I'm pretty
Was
sure there was
Lincoln's-
like, I'm like 99% sure that I've seen that. Well, of course they changed it when they turned politics into a corporation.
Johnson was a Democrat. He was Lincoln's vice president, and Lincoln was a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the day, people cast two ballots, one for president, one for vice president. Whoever got the most votes was the president. Whoever got the second most was the vice president. But that's like in the Electoral College. The reason why everybody wanted Donald Trump to take Ron DeSantis as his VP, or Byron Donalds, or Marco Rubio, but they're both from Florida. So in the Electoral College, the electors from Florida, cast two ballots, one for president, one for vice president. But you are not allowed to cast each one of your ballots from two candidates from the same state as yours. So they would have to figure out, like, they would have to cast, some of them would cast their ballot for Trump, and the other have to cast the rest for Walz. And so there's that thing. No. So it doesn't work. If it's a landslide, it's one thing, but if it's a close election, you could wind up with Kamala Harris as president and J.D. Vance as vice president. Just say, or you can wind up which that's a bad example, because if Trump took Rubio with him or DeSantis, you could have Trump as president, and then if J.D. Walz as Tim Walz as vice president. So
I mean, I am super glad that Trump chose J.D. Vance. So when I moved to America, I was a registered liberal Democrat in the UK. Super embarrassing. I'm sorry, everyone. No, the Lib Dems in the UK are a completely different party. Like, our local MP, like, he's the guy out on a Saturday fixing the bus stop. Like, he's fantastic. And we vote local. That's just what we do. Like, the big stuff doesn't really affect us in the same way as it does out here. But I think, making that switch, what I really actually like about J.D. Vance is, like, because you can go back and read Hillbilly Elegy and you can sort of like see his lived experience. And I think for the younger people coming up who are like, this is their first election, someone like J.D. Vance is going to be in their political lives pretty much forever now. And he's someone who I think if he had been born like 5 years earlier, he probably would have started as a Democrat and made the switch as well. I honestly think that would have been the case. And so I think he was great. I don't know. DeSantis, there was just something, I guess the sparkle wore off. Is that the wrong thing to say? Because he had so many good policies, but I don't know.
Yeah, he did not campaign well. He really didn't.
That was it.
All right, I'm looking at the time, and I knew this was going to happen. I promised I wouldn't keep you more than an hour. I said no more than an hour. I promised all our guests that. So, okay, so William's here representing the Mary Walter Radio Group. By the way, if you're on Facebook, which I'm rarely on Facebook now because Facebook has become, I don't know. It's like back in the, like, if you watch old movies from the 50s and 60s, they would bring out this, you went over to somebody's house for dinner and they break out the movie projector and they'd show you their film from their latest, family vacation to the, Grand Canyon, and everybody's sitting there going, oh God, this is awful. That's what Facebook is. My news feed is pictures of grandchildren and my kid's first day at school and this and that. None of the stuff, I don't care. Yeah, she got a new puppy. It's adorable. Fine. Like, it's horrific because they censor anything political and everything else is just my sandwich. Look, look what I made for dinner. I made taco pasta, but good for you. I'm rarely there, but I do have a political group there and you have to follow the rules. Everyone is welcome. No name calling, all that kind of stuff. So go to Facebook, look for Mary Walter Radio. It's a group. You ask to join, click request, and you'll get some questions that will come to your inbox. You have to answer them in order to get in, because
I like it.
I just make sure that people, a lot of people invite other people to come in and they never answer the questions. I'm like, did your friend really want to join?
Yeah.
But anyway, so William's from the group. All right. Let's see.
Well, it's nice to meet you, William.
Yes.
In the evening.
Let's see. Starlight says, reading the latest piece from Paul Craig Roberts, one can also see how Trump will lose and the Dems will take the lot. Huh. Listen, I think anything's possible. I really do.
Honestly, after watching Veep, I was like, as soon as they put Kamala in place, I was like, oh, she's just going to get a Xi and she's going to like give them Taiwan.
Yeah.
Like that's what's going to happen. And she's going to win. Oh, crazy.
It's like Chamberlain. All right, here's Czechoslovakia. Fine. Just don't do it again, please.
So
Second of his life.
Oh, yes.
All right, Herman Sal, being off on a tangent is okay as long as it's tangible.
Pretty tangible.
Susie says, I'm in PA. When I went to bed with Trump awake, I went to bed with Trump awake. Really? Next morning, the lead shrank by half and the rest is history. The Kennedy political dynasty seems to be non-existent nowadays. Now Tax USA says, on the Demo Communist Convention, I used to not believe in the manifestation of the devil, but with the infinite lies concern me and quite scary. You are right to prepare for the worst. Johnson. Right, Andrew Johnson was his VP. I think that's what she's saying. Lincoln. Talk about a revolution. What a mix that would be. J.D. Vance and Harris. They really aren't Democrats anymore. JFK would be considered a right-wing extremist by today's left. Gregory says, no name calling. Where's the fun in that? So not to cut you off, but I just want to move along because I have something really important I want to talk about. And I know it's going to take up time. But I wanted to share this because I promised Barnyard Bovine on X that we would play this on the podcast. So he asked me to play this. So we're going to play this, and I'd love to. Whoops, that's not it, is it? Hold on. Hang on. This is it. There we are. So I want to get your take on this. I don't know if you've heard this.
There's a lot of scientific material available on how facial analysis and face recognition are related. For instance, the gender shade study showed that some of the famous female Black celebrities were mistaken as male, right? Like Michelle Obama.
I need to send this clip immediately to my fiance. We have a running joke. We have a running joke in our family where, like, when the in-laws come to visit from Britain, because everyone back there is like super lib, and it's really annoying because they read all the trash and the propaganda. I mean, I just wish that they had someone in their family who worked in news journalism, you know. But every now and again, my mom will start like going off on a tangent or whatever, and John will just turn around and be like, we need to talk about the fact that Michelle Obama is a man. And my mom's like, oh, I can't deal with you right now. And she'll go away and she'll stop bothering us. It's amazing. It's the best hack. Got liberals in your family, just go like straight tinfoil hat. But like, in all fairness, that's like
hilarious, right?
Who knows?
Star Driver 1 just tuning in. You joined. Yes, joined just in time. Okay. Two things I want to talk to you about. I'm going to get this one video, and then we're going to get on to what I really wanted to talk to you about, which is the bulk of the meat of this that I have to get into. But I want to bring this in. Let me see, because I thought you and I could have some fun with this. I saved this for somebody fun. So I saved this. Share. Here we go. Let's get that on there. Listen to this. Listen to this, people. Where is it? Wait, what just happened? Oh, here. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Where did it go?
Is it the little button in the corner at the bottom?
No, hold on. Let me reload this and see what happened.
I don't know how to make TikTok work. I won't download it.
I'm not on TikTok, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not on any of this stuff.
I know. I had a friend text me yesterday being like, I don't do TikTok or Temu. And I was like, we should be better friends.
I don't do Timu either. I think that's all crap. I don't trust any of it. Where did
Just
it go?
all lead-laden crap. Oh no! What is it?
Wait, where did it go?
There it is.
No, that's not it. That's not it. That's an ad.
No. But like below? No.
Yeah. Okay, there it is. Okay, ready? Okay.
So me and my fiance, we are getting married, right? And to be a part of our wedding, you have to pay $450 for a ticket, and that's for each guest. So we invited friends and family to our wedding. Tell me why everybody that we invited has declined the invitation. We already have spent 100, maybe almost close to $200,000 on the wedding. We have already pre-ordered the cake. We already put down a deposit for the venue. We've already got the wedding dress, everything. We pay for everything for the wedding, DJ, photographer, everything for the wedding. And what I don't understand is that y'all spend 400 more money on stupid stuff, but you can't come out to support your family and your friends at a wedding. Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Tell it, like, is we wrong? Let me know. Because
so
y'all pay for tickets, Beyonce tickets, $1,000 tickets. Y'all going to go meet Chris Brown for $1,000 something. But when it comes to your friends and your family, you can't pay the ticket. Like, these weddings ain't cheap. Like, the weddings ain't cheap. Like what's going on? Like, I don't get it. Like, let us know, are we wrong for charging for a wedding?
And I know that
like I really want to know.
Being like, weddings aren't affordable, blah blah blah. You know what? They are when you go to the place around the corner, like the little cafe around the corner that you know, and you just chat with the owners who are probably like also your friends, and they come and do your catering. Like, unless you're a little bit crazy like me, and I did double my dress budget, but I bet it was still less than most people think. And I drive a free car. So, financial literacy is kind of my thing. This man is out of control. Him and his fiance have lost their mind. I think I'm losing my mind, Mary, even just like.
Well, come on. They already spent $200,000 on the wedding.
They spent it already. If you've got to spent that much on your wedding, like that's not even like a deposit on a house. That's a freaking house. Like, we're not throwing a full-on wedding because we're like, and we didn't even do a registry. We were like, if people want to help us, like, give us like a donation towards helping us buy our house, but like, just show up. We don't care. Like, it's love. It's not about presents. Oh, this man's out of control.
First of all, $450, that to me, and listen, I'm old, so my days of going to weddings for friends and stuff like that's over. Like, that's done. I got married back in the day when you could, give them a set of china because everybody got their china, and so you gave them a set of china and you called it a night. It was fantastic. Now you gotta pony up like I don't know, like $300 for two people. Is $300 good for two people going to a wedding now?
I was in a wedding, so I had 2 weddings last year, both good friends. One of them I spent, well, I guess I was also a bridesmaid. I spent. Actually, when I look back, I think when it's all said and done, will have spent more on her wedding than I will on mine. But mine,
wow.
I don't care about a wedding. I'm so excited to marry my fiance. I just care about the marriage. Like, I'm like, we could just go to the pool. I really don't care. Like, I'm just freaking stoked. Because he's really cool. But but no, I mean, yeah, I probably spent like $3,000 on that wedding, which was like, now that I'm looking back and thinking about it, I could own a car that costs something. Because that's like, oh my God, that's an insane amount of money. Like, that is an insane amount of money to think that I spent on someone else's wedding as a bridesmaid. Now, the other wedding, no. I have a thing where I'm like, I will make you something sentimental, but like, I am not jinxing this by giving you like a super expensive gift. Like, if you guys have been together for 10 years and you want to renew your vows, I will drop some cash at that point. And guess what? I'm probably going to spend a lot of money on your kids. I'm probably going to spend a lot of money on your birthdays from here on out. So there's your custom ice bucket for $50. You'll use it once a year, and it annoys me that it's just going to sit in your cupboard. And it's not about me. But like, what? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's my culture. Maybe it's a cultural thing. But no, I'm not going to spend that kind of money on someone's wedding. Are you insane?
Well, even in the States, though, first of all, I wish that was wine because I would love you if that was wine
It's
right now.
just water. I'm so boring. I
Okay.
know.
Who did I have on? I had on a comedian. Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on his name, and I could see his face and hear his voice. But anyway, he showed up just totally like hanging out with a glass of bourbon, and I was like, I love you right now.
I love that. Next time I'll come on with a White Claw. Heck yeah.
Don't like the
Oh my
White Claw.
gosh.
But so even in the United States, it's culturally very different depending on where you live.
Mhm.
So I had a very good friend from Texas. I lived in Texas for 1 year, 2 months, and 3 days, and she was my roommate for like one of the years that I was down there, not even a year. And so I was in her wedding. I went down to be in her wedding, and she's Baptist, and so you had the church, and then the wedding is downstairs, and the reception is downstairs in the basement, and they have like iced tea and cookies. And she said, but her wedding was going to be a big deal because her aunts had come in like the week before. And they all started cooking and baking and everything. So it was in somebody's backyard, but there's no alcohol. So it's like a big picnic in somebody's backyard. And I was
Okay.
I flew out here and I put on this dress. I bought this dress. I put on. So the entire bridal party goes to the convenience store, and everybody's drinking up. I don't even remember the cookies and reception because we were loaded by the time we got there. That's what everybody does.
Perfect. That's what it should be. I mean, I said it to my future mother-in-law this evening. We were having dinner, and I said, I want most people to go, oh, that party you guys had, oh, that was your wedding. Yeah. But I want them to think, oh, it was a party first, because that's my culture. Like, no one cares how clean your house is. They care if you have wine. You know? Like that's how we live.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. Good for you guys, Texas driveway.
Well, yeah, but
No.
wait, but then she came to New Jersey for my wedding, the big Catholic wedding, at in the at the chapel at Villanova University.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's the bridesmaids, and she flew in, and my parents put them up in the hotel because everybody's staying at a hotel. And so there's the rehearsal dinner Friday night that the groom's side pays for. We got the big rehearsal dinner, and then there's the big wedding, and there's the limos to the church, and then the limos to the reception hall. And we had a band, and the big band with the horns, the whole bit. I had 365 people at our wedding. So yeah.
Mary, what? That's okay. That's a party. I'm gonna shut up. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You had a horn section.
Well, yeah. I'm the only girl. I'm the only girl.
Jealous.
I'm the only girl.
Oh,
I'm the
okay.
only girl.
Okay.
No female cousins. Just me.
Oh yeah,
So.
you are made, and I bet your husband's like the coolest guy ever because you probably had some pretty high standards set by all those men in your life.
Well, we grew up together, and our parents know each other, and so it was a big family thing.
Oh,
so
that's lovely.
Yeah, my
love.
parents, like his family had to give my family like a cow or something when we got married.
I love that. That is how it should be. That is really how it should be.
But they couldn't believe it. They're like, what? Like they couldn't believe any of it. They had never been to a wedding. I'm like, but this is how it is in New York and New Jersey all the time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And people just come up and they just shove money in the groom's pockets, and it's you go from table to table and people just hand you envelopes of cash. That's how it's just.
That's so lovely. That's so sweet. Can I come and just like crash a wedding up there in my dress at some point?
Sure.
Maybe I just throw a wedding in New York. I'll tell John after this.
There you go. We were going up to our room, and the way the hotel was set up, there was like a common area by the elevators on each floor, and it was really big. And there was this chiropractors convention in town, and in the same hotel, and they somehow hooked up with my brothers. I don't know how the hell that happened, but they did. And so we get off the elevator, and there is my family, my husband's family, everybody who was staying in the hotel on that floor with the chiropractors. And they whip us out of the elevator, and they all start dancing with me, and they're giving my husband all this money to dance with me.
That's so beautiful. That's so cool. That is so epic. Wait, what was your first dance? What was your song?
Oh, our song was One Friend. It's a country song by Dan Seals. Dan Seals, One Friend.
It's
country song.
That's beautiful.
But the point is that it was so different when I went to her wedding in Texas. I was like, what the hell is this? And when she came to our wedding, she's like, what the hell is this? Like they couldn't believe it. So
That's
it's
epic.
yeah, so it's
Oh,
very
I love
different.
it.
Star says 450 times 350 people. Mary made huge bank. Um,
Oh
Gregory
my
says,
God.
I would have given you a prayer card, a very nice one, though. My father would have
Oh.
killed you because my father was sitting there and everybody had a choice of like London broil, fish, and a vegetarian or whatever it was. And everybody who ordered London, my father wanted everyone to order London broil because they had to pay for it all at the most expensive price. So
Mhm.
he's setting it up in his head and he's like, can't believe they ordered the chicken. Don't they know what I'm paying for the chicken? It's the price of London broil.
Oh, I love it. Good
Oh,
man.
all right.
That's how it should be.
So your husband was pimping you out to dance. Yes, he's a very smart man. Be like, just kept taking money out of his pockets all night. It was great. All right.
No.
So the last thing I want to talk to you about is something you have mentioned, and I put this out on X on Saturday. As soon as it happened, I got in the car and we were driving back from upstate New York. We are just coming back from vacation, and we stopped in at a store. We always stop it. I don't even want to give the name of it because I don't want to get the kid in trouble. I don't want any blowback on this kid.
Mhm.
And we go in there every time we're on our way back and we get a sub or we get like a protein bowl or whatever. So we get a
Mhm.
sub. And we go in, there's one kid behind the counter, and this kid looked like he was like 16 years old, you know, because he's tall, he's a big kid.
Mhm.
And he's making the sandwich. He's very nice and very polite. And then his coworker comes out who was maybe 19. And clearly there was just the two of them in the store. So the 19-year-old was apparently in charge for that shift. So I'm paying them, and the thing comes up to tip on the screen to check out.
Mhm.
And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I'm going to leave you cash, no tax on tips, right? If I leave you cash, you know, you do with it what you want to do with it, right?
Heck
So
yeah.
so I go. I said I prefer to because I always prefer to leave cash.
Mhm.
That's just I just think that that's better because if people honestly think that a manager is taking that coffee can full of a couple of dollar bills and a bunch of change and adding it up, divvying it up between the workers and then reporting it to the IRS, you are out of your mind. Who does that, right?
Oh, yeah. And half those
Not that.
managers just make off with the money. That's why I would like refuse to tips share when I was a bartender. I was just like, no, I made these tips. They're my tips. You want my tips? Work as hard as me or just be as mean as me.
Yeah. so I say that and I go, yeah, I said, well, you know, cash, no tax on tips. The kid who's making my sandwich, who's still down there putting like the dressing, looks up and he goes, no tax on tips, Donald J. Trump. And I'm like, what? Now, I swear to holy God this happened. I swear on the Bible this happened. And I just look at him and go, and the other kid behind me goes, that's right, Donald J. Trump, no tax on tips. I'm like, oh, what is happening?
My faith
So,
in humanity
so
is
I just look at
restored.
him. Exactly. I said to him, I go, you know what? I said, I am so impressed to see young people who can rationally think or who can think for themselves, something like that. And the young guy looks at me, he goes, nope, that's the difference between kids who work and kids who don't.
Whoa. Oh.
And then the manager, the
wow.
19-year-old goes, you have no idea. He goes, you have no idea. So we start talking about it. And the older kid was just like, you have no idea the kids who come in here for jobs. They don't want to work more than so many hours. They don't want to work on these days. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. And that kid was a hard worker. You could tell he was a hard worker. And so I wanted to ask, do you think there's a difference when a kid has a job versus when a kid doesn't have a job? And I asked, and the other thing is the manager tells me, the older kid tells me, he goes, I said, well, that's great. I said, are you even old enough to vote? I mean, are you voting? And the manager goes, he turns 18 today. I'm like, oh, it's your birthday.
Oh, he's
So I go,
working on his birthday?
he was
Heck
working on his
yeah.
birthday. Yeah, it was a Saturday. And he goes, yeah, we're going out later. I go, well, now you got money to go out, right? Now you got money. And the kid looks at me and I go, well, you're going to vote. He goes, I'm so excited to vote.
Oh,
So it's great.
that's
So
lovely.
young kids today, I don't think work.
No.
I had a job when I was, my father didn't make us because I grew up in a rural area and so we had chores that we had to do, and my parents would pay us, for chores that we had to do. But I did every now and then for extra money, and I know this sounds so stupid, but we would walk, and it was over a mile that we would walk to one of the farms and get the eggs from the chickens, which, by the way, they are nasty little birds when you come for their eggs. And we would get a nickel for every bucket of milk we milked. Like we got out of the cow, a nickel. It was great.
That's a real job. Farm work. I have many chickens. One of them, Outcast, today, she's trying to nest some very unfertilized eggs, and I'm like, that's my breakfast. Get out of here. And she went for me. Yeah, they can be mean.
They peck at you.
But
They're
no,
really mean.
Yeah, no, that's real work. No, I run a farm. It's real work, and I think it's something that we've talked about. I had jobs growing up, so I'm biased. I've worked since I could walk, type thing. I was in the modeling industry for my whole childhood, adolescence, everything. There was one time when like my headmaster was looking at a catalog for new school equipment, and he just turns it to me and goes, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah, what?" I was just like, I guess I wasn't just going for like a play date or whatever, that we were modeling for equipment, and then sort of like went on from there. And then when I was 13, I started working in an optician's. When I was 16, I started working on the door of bars. I did all of that up until I moved out to the States. And, during the weeks I was writing and I was in school, and I cannot tell you the number of people when even, this is like 20 years ago, people will be like, okay, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, I want to go see if I can be a writer in the States. And then when I'm done with that, I want to move somewhere rural. At the time, I assumed it would be France or somewhere like that, like somewhere I'd spent time growing up that I know is private and quiet. And that's what I'm going to do. And everyone laughed at me. And I was like, I'm sorry, but if I'm like 16 and I can do all of these jobs, and like it sounds insane looking back at it, but like I did it. And I got my academics sorted, and I think I wouldn't have been able to do any of those things had I not been doing them all at once. And I was like 10 years ahead. Like I have people who are hitting me up now that I grew up with who are like, how do I move to the States? And I'm like, you haven't missed your shot, but like you needed to start 20 years ago. Like that's how this works. And so, yeah, the fact that these kids are working, like I see a huge difference. Like the younger kids start with it's not about the work, it's the responsibility. And like, I think it has a lot to do with the, being able to feel a sense of accomplishment that isn't from anyone else. Like you don't need someone to come and pat you on the back and say, you did a good job, here's your trophy. It's like, no, I can physically see the buckets and I have my money. No one else has to be involved in this. I don't need anyone to say congratulations. I can feel my congratulations in my pocket and in my success.
Exactly.
So,
and
yeah.
Over on Getter, I think it's Low Key Bob. I don't even know. He started laughing when I saw the story, but then he said voice of experience. And that's exactly what it is. It's these kids getting experience, and having they're almost older. But I think my experience now is kids don't work anymore. Like we wanted to get jobs. Like when we hit 16 and we could legally work, now we worked on the farm when we were younger than 16. It was cash that changed hands and that was it, right? And my father was like, just don't do anything where you're like going to cut a hand off. I'm like, okay. But I mean, I knew how to drive a tractor, right? So my father's like, just
that's a big deal. Yeah.
Anything cut off, right? And we wanted to do that. Like we had this urge, this need to get out and get our own money and get a job. And it was considered so cool to have a job. And we couldn't wait to get our driver's licenses. There were kids in their 20s who never bothered getting their driver's licenses. Like they just don't care. They take Uber everywhere or Lyft everywhere. And so they don't feel a need to do this. There's almost, and I don't know how you instill it in kids. My brother did it. He has 3 girls. The youngest is going into her junior year now at Virginia Tech. But the 2 oldest ones, they all knew when they hit 16, yay, you're 16, this is fantastic. And then like the next day he'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And he came into there, he told them, I'm not paying for whatever. And it was like something superfluous. Like my goddaughter, she told me, Aunt Mary, I knew it was coming, but you know what Dad told me? He's not paying for my makeup anymore. And I was just like, well, you do buy a lot of makeup, you know, you got a
Yeah,
lot of stuff around that's half used and this and that. She had to go get a job.
I think
But they
that's the
all
best
knew
way
it.
to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
They all got jobs. And if you want this, you have to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay for it. And I think it was the best gift you can give a kid is giving them that sense of accomplishment, like you were talking about like earning it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
having that in my hand. I earned this. I think it means so much more to you, but I think it influences your political view as well,
Mm-hmm.
like those kids, because I remember my very first bona fide paycheck that wasn't under the table for milking a cow. And my very first bona fide paycheck, and it had gross and then it had net and it had all these numbers. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and I asked my father, to this day, I remember exactly where we were sitting at the kitchen table. He was here in his chair, and I was here in my brother's chair, sitting there. And he's explaining it to me. And he's like, well, this is for people who didn't save enough money for when they were older. And this is for people who don't save enough money for their medical bills. And this is for people. And I was done with it. I was like, well, that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me, shook my hand, and said, welcome to the Republican Party.
Oh, it's
I was like,
fantastic. Yes, I love that. I will say, I think it was probably a little bit easier for us. I know that our money went a lot further back then, but we also, there wasn't as much stuff to buy or do. I think it was like, you know, what did we do on the weekends when we were teenagers? We would go and convince someone to buy us a flagon of Strongbow cider. Can't touch the stuff now. And we go down to the beach and day drink. Like there was nothing else to do. We didn't have like phones. We didn't have Netflix. We didn't have like these shows. We didn't have. Well, I grew up in like a steelworking town, and so we didn't have like anything. Like the town was flattened in World War II and just like really shoddily rebuilt. We didn't even really have the same kind of like history as a lot of the places around us. Like I think some of my friends up like their upbringings, but it was still, you know, we made fun. And so having a job was like, okay, well now we can go and pay to go and have even more fun. Because,
right.
you know, our parents weren't ever like, my parents weren't, I never got an allowance. When I was 13, asked my dad for 10 quid to go, or 10 pounds to go to the cinema. And he said, yep, go work for a whole day. They'll pay you probably a little bit more than 10 quid. And you can take that money and go to the cinema. And so the following Tuesday was when I went and got my first proper job, working at the opticians, because we don't have like, you know, if you're capable and you can work, like, yeah, I was like 13, 14, but I'm pretty sure that was legal in the UK. Everyone else I knew had a job if it was in like a cafe or something like that. Like it was just a normal thing. And it worked great because things used to be a lot cheaper. And then 2008 happened. And I remember losing my job in 2008. I was still in high school. Or no, I wasn't. I couldn't have been. Was I? Maybe I was in college. We do it like different ages. So we start younger. Maybe I was in my last year. I can't remember. But I was in like some kind of education, wasn't in university. And I remember it hit like all of us. Like we all felt it. And I do speak to some of my friends out here, not so much people who grew up in like Vegas or in like big metropolitan cities, but people who grew up in just, you know, parts of rural America. The recession just like did not affect them in the same way. And so they're repeating a lot of the same like financial and work mistakes as their parents, you know, not saving, going into huge amounts of debt for stuff that they don't need. And so I think there's like a financial literacy thing that also comes with starting younger. But like, I also look at what kids can actually do these days. Like I, at the age of 21, was able to move to a different country with like my legal visa that says I'm an expert in what I do because I'd gone through university and I didn't come out with any debt. So it was only like $3,000 a year in tuition or something. I didn't come out with any debt. So I was able to move to a different country and go and literally live my American dream. And I speak to kids coming out of school these days and they're like, what is a dream? I just doom scroll all day. And I'm like, yeah, like you literally, like these people don't have time to be bored, to dream, to think that we can do better than this. So there is a part of me that's like,
Oh,
I love that some kids get out and like get it together, but there's like this other part of me that's like, we've just poisoned like this entire generation with technology, and I think it's stunted them. Like I really
100%.
do.
100%. Little babies shouldn't have an iPad and a stroller.
No.
That's no. And that's the other thing. I got to give my brother props. He and his wife did a great job. The girls got their phones when they were 10, maybe a little bit older, and their first phone was just a phone that could only dial like 6 numbers. Had no technology on it. That's it.
Yeah.
And at night, they had to hand their parents their phones. Even as teenagers in high school, they had to hand their phones in, and they never knew what they were going to go through. They didn't know if my brother and his wife were going to look at their history. Were they going to look at their text messages? They had no idea, because as my brother told them, you don't own it, I do.
I like that.
It's not yours, it's
Yeah.
mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what if
That's
I buy my
smart.
own? He's like, no. And that
No.
was it. But they knew, like, they didn't have TVs in their rooms. None of them had
No.
TVs in their rooms. They had one TV in the house.
Yeah.
Everybody had to watch one TV. The main computers, like the computers, nobody had a computer in their room. They were in one room where anybody could walk in, because all the chairs had the back to the door. So my sister-in-law could just look in and see what was on the screens. So, parenting is hard, and it's taking, but everything costing more, of course. But I think they also make more. Kids now like get $5 from the tooth fairy for every tooth that I got a quarter. Right? Like, and now they get like $5. I got a quarter. So they also get more. And you don't need, I used to tell my youngest niece, who's very big on, but I need it. I was like, okay, you don't need the nail polish. You need food, you need air, you need a bathroom. But even that, we could, on the side of the Garden State Parkway, if necessary, without a bathroom. So I said, those are the things you need. You don't need those jeans. And she'd be like, Aunt Mary. But they learned that, no, you don't, just because you whine for it doesn't mean that you need it. And if you can't afford it with what you're making at your little job, guess what? Get another job or lower your standards. That's it.
Oh my gosh, this is like the most refreshing thing I've heard in so long. I got bored of writing, like, I have my column with the caller, and we did for years like all stuff on financial literacy. I think to the point where John got mad at me because one of the guys that we track, because I feel like he is a move maker, but like there's just, I learn a lot from the moves that he makes for like future financial projections. And I wrote about him so much that he went off Twitter and stopped publicizing this stuff. So I just like destroyed a data source, because I was like, no, I'm watching my friends buy homes they don't need, that are terribly built, for like $400,000, but with their current mortgage rates, that's actually over $1 million when it's all said and done, that they will never get back. And they're all like, oh, we'll just like refinance and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you can't do that if your home value has gone down, which all of them have. And so I had like a complete panic freak out, because I was like, why aren't people remembering 2008? Why aren't people my age out here like hyper aware of what's going on, like how we're going through this inflation, how none of this is normal, what they're signing up for, blah, 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 blah. Is that a cat?
Yeah. Can you see him?
Yeah, sorry. We're an animal family, so I lock my cats out, because otherwise they'd be up here the whole time. But
She was sitting over there for the longest time, but they get fed at 8 o'clock, so his patience is wearing anything. Come here, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
yeah,
okay.
Financial literacy is key, and I'm terrified about this bubble.
I think actually, if you've got money saved up, sit on it, because when it all crashes, you can buy something great for a lot less money. But everybody's, somebody's misfortune is somebody else's opportunity. But I think also what I see is there's no sense of saving and building something up. I was 39 years old when we bought our first house. They want their first house as soon as they get married. They want it to be perfect. They want character, but I also want no walls. I want it to be, it has to be a box. It must be white and gray and black. Black is the accent color. It looks very Soviet, because I want it square, and I want to be able to see straight from the house from the front door all the way through. I want a
Mhm.
clean line of sight with no walls. I'm like, why don't you just go get a shipping container and call it a day?
Honestly, like I think more people should literally like I'm super opposed to the liminal space. I'm like I like the Joanna Gaines. I didn't like the Lake House. I'm sorry. I just didn't like the Lake House. If you watch Fixer Upper, sorry viewers if you're into it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't her best work. But I like I mean this house is old by North Carolina standards. It's about 120 I guess years old now, but the newer part is I don't know, probably like 50 years old, something like that. A lot of character, really happy with it. Having to rent it because our landlord put solar on the roof, so now can't sell it for a couple of years. And we were sort of like, oh, that might coincide with, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Right.
But the way that I sort of look at it is like, if you really want your own space, if you want your own autonomy, if you want to be like actually like huge and amazing and successful, build something that can't be taken away from you, that you can hand to the next generation to make it better. Because like I'm watching like a lot of my friends in their 30s make a lot of decisions, and I'm sorry, but I'm sort of at that point in my life where it's like we're probably going to try and have kids. If it's not our kids, it'll be my nieces. My sort of responsibility is like, how can I leave this place better for them? Probably the number one way to do that is not going into massive amounts of debt on stuff I don't need. So if we can't for some reason buy this house in the future, said as John a million times, there's a few acres over there his family's had forever. I'll live in a double. I would live in a single wide as long as I got a nice view and so long as no one can take it away from me.
Exactly. So let's just quickly go through the comments here, and then I'll let you go.
Sorry.
Hermit Sal, no, don't apologize. Sal says, I leave cash because it reduces the amount spent on my credit card. I also like to leave cash because Rand Paul did this a couple of years ago. He had a campaign to hand cash to your server and say, this is not a tip, this is a gift from me. They can't tax a gift.
I like that. I was gonna say, Sal,
Yep.
though, don't underestimate credit card points. I'm just like, why do debit cards even exist?
Yeah, no, I get it, but then they also pay the fee. The restaurant or whatever pays the fee on the processing of the tax, and sometimes they take it out of the server's tips if you leave it on the card.
That is not very nice.
Amy's Baking Company and Kitchen Nightmares would take their employees' tips. Yeah, I remember that place. Now Tax USA says not to talk taxes, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security income, is not taxing income as you know, I'm all in on no income taxes. It's right there yes, he is all about that, no taxes. William says, kudos to those kids, right? But when I told the story on X, I had so many freaking little like that. Oh, great, you're encouraging, tax fraud. And I said, it's amazing how I'm watching the left fall all over itself to encourage taxing a minimum wage worker. And then they all go away.
That's so, oh my gosh.
You're encouraging tax fraud.
You need to be in Trump's administration. You should be, like, I don't know what the job is. I think we just need to come up with, like, new jobs at this point to, like, help run the country.
He needs someone to do his messaging. They're sitting there and they're all about the big state and about big government and everything. And they're fighting with me on X. And I'm like, wait, so you're arguing for taking taxes out on minimum wage people?
Yeah, idiots.
Wouldn't you be rooting for them to not pay the taxes on that?
It's like the same thing. I mean, I said this to my family the other day. I hate to call them out, but like sometimes you just have to point a finger because then there's three pointing back at you. And that's where Jesus wants you to do some self-reflection. So pointing that finger, I was sort of explaining how we've got this censorship issue in the UK now, where like if you say something in a private chat, you can like go to freaking jail.
They arrest people,
right? And so I'm like sitting there with my parents, who like my dad growing up was all like, yeah, government sucks. Like there's no point. Like they're just gonna, he's like such a hippie. Was like such a huge part of like my like cultural, like all the music, like all the sort of like summer of '69, like grew up in the '70s, old hippie rocker, whatever, like motorbikes, super cool. And he's there like, well, you know, I can see why we could, like, sometimes there might be an argument for that kind. And I'm like, do you just think the NSA is listening? Do you think the NSA is, like, listening to you, like, having this conversation? Sometimes I think that's what it must be on Twitter. It's just some government agency and the blah, blah, blah bots. And I think they've taken over all of Britain at this point.
So your dad reminds me of, he's Bernie Sanders. He's an aging hippie. Bernie Sanders was all against the man, and now he is the man, right?
No, I mean, yeah, like it has kind of gotten to that point with my dad, bless his heart, but he'll come back around. But he's a big Bernie bro. And like,
does your dad comb his hair with a balloon the way Bernie Sanders does? That's like,
do you know what? Bless my dad's hair. It's sort of all disappeared the last couple of years, but it still suits him. But it is kind of like he is a great guy, and like he taught me one time. My dad, he made me debate for 3 days. Wouldn't have a regular conversation with me. Would just debated with me, so that by the end of these 3 days, I could, in any given context, argue that sociology is actually a science. It was like a game of chess. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. So I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my dad, but I think I've like grossly disappointed him since my days of being on the legal marijuana billboards, you know, back when I was young and cool.
Oh my God. I gotta get you on one time to talk about your background, because it sounds amazing. Star Driver says, in the 90s, I DJ'd at a big country bar in Des Moines. I kept reminding everyone to tip the waitresses. They did so well that night, they tipped me at the end of the night. Oh,
that's so great. Lovely.
Hermit Sal says, now Tax USA isn't tips and Social Security income considered earned income, which does get taxed. Yes, and that is the problem.
Yes, that is the problem. The fact that Social Security is taxed disgusts me.
Well, Joe Biden voted for it. Now, granted, it happened under Ronald Reagan, so I don't agree with everything every politician does.
Ooh,
you know, I don't agree with everything my husband does. Sometimes he does stuff, and I look at him, I'm like, I married an idiot, right? So, you know,
nobody's perfect, you know. Yeah, like as they say.
Hermit says, upstate New York tends to be so different than downstate, as those kids have proven. Yes. Hermit says, thanks for having Kay on. Please have her return.
Oh, thank you, Hermit Sal. That's so nice of you.
William says, my youngest daughter's very liberal. Not sure how it happened, but I never pushed politics on her. Yeah.
Did she ever have media?
Did she ever have a job? Did you make her get a job? Did she have chores? I'm surprised none of our kids don't have chores. When you're like 4 years old, you can learn that at the end of the day, you have to pick your toys up and put them in the toy box. That's what we had to do before we go to bed. My mom would be like, did you do your job? And I had to go and I had to pick my toys up and put them in the toy box, and then I went to bed. So you can teach kids responsibility from a very young age. It's just that too many parents don't do it. And then when she turns out to be liberal, well, you know. Porchview Farm says, she runs a farm too. It's hard work. The orchard guys next door really work.
Orchards, yeah, no, I have pecan trees, and like I love me some pecans, but like I'm starting to get really upset about these trees. Like
I bet you make a mean pecan pie though.
I do. Actually, no, I live in the South. I'm surrounded by people who've been making them for like 400 years, and mine just don't compete. You know, like it's embarrassing. I'm like, and then
that's okay.
Like,
give them lots of pecans and tell them you just want one pie in return. That's all.
That's a good deal. Do that.
Right. Star Driver says, I started driving farm tractors at 5 years old. Okay, well, my parents weren't insane. Sal, nowadays kids want to start off as a vice president of a company and ask how much vacation time they'll get. Listen, my husband had an interview for his practice, and the American kids come in and they're like, well, I don't want to work weekends. How many weeks vacation do I get? He said it was insane. The very first time you meet them, they want to know what the perks are before they decide if they're even going to. Oh, they're doctors. Oh, I have to work. I may have to work weekends. Oh, well, I don't work past 5 o'clock. He's like, no, you work until your job is done. You don't just walk out because it's 5 and you got a patient, you know, that you got the paddles on and you're doing, you know, compressions on their chest. You just don't walk out because it's 5 o'clock. But the foreign kids aren't like that.
It's the American dream is still real, but I think it's to a certain extent reserved for a lucky few Americans and mostly just legal immigrants. Yeah.
Oh, Kirk thinks we're pathetic. Aw.
Steinmetz. Okay.
Steinmetz. Well, William said goodbye, Kirk. Oreo said first job was cutting grass. Don't remember what age. This is bad. And then he came back and said he was 12. He was 12. I babysat all over the neighborhood. I was like 12, 13 years old and babysit. People are putting me in charge of their kids at like 12, 13 years old. They're like, here's the phone number for the restaurant. Have at it. And I was like, okay.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Steve Jobs never allowed his kids to use his technology.
That's true. That is absolutely 100% true. It's because he knew that his technology killed him and was killing him. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
sad.
honestly, that's another thing. Like, I think there's a lot of untreated mental illness. We have a documentary out on Daily Caller right now called American Squatter, and it's all about these like people. A lot of them, you know, have these issues, and these issues typically present in teenage years, like, you know. But you'll go away on vacation, come home, someone's broken into your house. If they got furniture in there, police can't do anything. It's up to you to get them out. Millions of people, like, this has happened to, I guess, at this point, or like, I don't know if it's millions or like hundreds of thousands, but it's affected millions of people. And like, a lot of these are just transient kids.
Yep.
Like, that's what they'd rather do with their time on this earth. Oh gosh,
Sad.
yeah. So sad.
Well, so in my little town, and boy, are we over time. In my little town, if you call the police department and you tell them that you're going away, they ask you when you're leaving, when you're returning, are there any lights that will be on automatic timer? What time do they go on? What time do they go off? And they come by twice a day. They come into your driveway. They walk around your house to make sure there are no windows broken and that the doors aren't open. And they'll even try the door if they think that. And so, yeah.
That is so lovely. I'm going to start campaigning with like my local law enforcement. I mean, I don't think we have to worry about it out. Like, we literally live in nowhere. But that's beautiful. God bless them. Oh, I love that.
There are 3,500 people in my town, and it's 1.1 square miles. We never have more than 2 police officers on duty at a time. And in the off season, because I live at the shore, but in the winter, there's no one on duty on the weekends. Well, wait, they're on duty, but the police, that's not true. They're on duty on the weekends, but the police station's closed on the weekends.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so good.
John, one of my old friends, John, chiming in here. Hi, Mary and Kay. Hermit Sal says, thanks God for the side of the parkway. Yeah, lots of people have peed on the side of the parkway. Kay, Star says, Kay, the problem is nowadays people can't remember what they did 20 minutes ago, let alone 16 years ago. That is part of the problem. Gregory says, Ms. Smythe, were you able to quit smoking despite the news cycle?
No! Maybe one day. It's the Brit in me. It's because like I don't smoke like regular cigarettes. I smoke like roll-up cigarettes. That's what we all smoke in the UK. So it's like I don't have to smoke a whole cigarette. I can just be like, what do I want to do now? So, you know, I do like my Marlboros though. I shouldn't be advertising the fact that I smoke. I'm desperately trying to quit.
How did he know that you smoked? Did you mention that and I missed it?
No, I think I made a joke about it on Twitter like one time, but like if someone smokes and you meet someone else that smokes in this day and age, it's like, oh, we got the trash together. Do you want to drink a White Claw? Like, yeah.
All right, quickly, the people complaining about tax fraud have no problem with Biden, Clinton, and others committing tax fraud and being caught. The Clinton Foundation is one of the biggest offenders, of course, but it's different. Different when they do it because they got a D after their names. Bill Nelson, all of our cash states that it is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So when places tell me they don't accept cash, I still leave the cash and leave.
Oh, I like that.
Who doesn't accept cash?
Oh, there's a bunch of places that try and claim that. It's so weird. And like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Williams, regarding his liberal youngest daughter, she has had a job since she was 15. She's just socially liberal.
Oh, I mean, like most kids are.
Yeah.
You know?
Sal says maybe nowadays chores are considered oppressive and racist. Star says, I've had people ask, did you grow up on a farm? And I say, yes. They say, I can tell because of your work ethic.
That's true.
Porchview Farm says this Yankee just took first in the county fair for her peach pie in the South. I cried when I saw my blue ribbon.
That is incredible. And a blue ribbon, yes, here for it. Love that. Heck yeah, congrats.
Sal says, congratulations, Portview. And the last comment here before we get out of here, Oreo said he had a double bypass. Please, Kay, do not smoke.
God, no, I feel like it. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I'll quit. I know my grandfather, the one with the macular degeneration, lived until he was 94 and smoked every day.
It's not only that, but you're ruining your skin. When you get into your 50s, your skin's going to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm. And I
know it's hard to imagine now, but.
Sorry, there's someone like driving in my yard. I should probably go and check on that. That's really weird. Okay.
All right, well, go ahead. Go, but you can follow Kay at just the way she spells it there. It looks like it should be Smythe, and she's British. Yet it is Kay Smith, right?
It's Smythe, but that's okay. I'm going to be hell in like 3 months. So
okay, so if I remember correctly, the first time I interviewed you, I asked if it was Smith or Smythe, and they told me Smith. And I thought that's odd because it's Smythe, which is technically Smythe, and she's British. So you know Kay Smythe. There's no Smiths running around England. You know it's got to be Smythe, right? Because that's just so British. And so I apologize because I was told by the producer that it was Smith. So I am so sorry.
No, there was one producer, gosh, I'm going to feel really bad now, over at Newsmax, and we talked every week and like literally for years. And he that whole time thought my name was Smith, and then I think he went to radio. So that was kind of funny. No, I remember that. But no, I don't. Like I said, I'm going to be ill soon. It's okay. It's such a stupid name. It sounds like a sneeze. Case Smythe. You know, what is that? That's not a grown-up name. Like, it's so silly.
When is your wedding? When is your wedding? When are the
November 16th.
Oh,
yes.
A fall wedding. So exciting.
I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been so much fun. Whenever a guest asks, how long is it? Like 10, 15 minutes? I'm like, well, I try to keep it to an hour. But we usually go longer than an hour because we go off on tangents and the conversation starts and off it goes. But if you have a time limit, I will respect it in case like, whatever, we'll just go. I'm like, okay, well, this is go.
Yeah, heck yeah. This is like a treat. This is, you know, I don't know, Mary, like every time we talk, I come away from it just feeling like invigorated and like excited, and that person's left my field. I'm glad. Sorry that I'm getting distracted, but I just want to say thank you. This is just like the most fun, and it means the world, honestly, that you wanted to have me on. This was great. And like all the viewers, that's just like the nicest people. Thank you.
Well, and don't forget, everybody follow Kay, KSMYTHE on X, and she also has her webpage, which is hername.com. So there you go. Go check out your field. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I apologize for it going so long. Don't forget, if you follow me on X, send me a message with your idea for the bingo card for election night. As I said, I'm going to be on with Todd Starnes. We're doing nationally syndicated radio election center. And so unless we can figure out a way to simulcast this on the podcast, if there's video, which I'll see if I can get Todd to do. If we can somehow figure out how to do that, we will. But I'd love to incorporate the bingo, drinking game with election night with Todd. So thank you so much, everybody. I will be on the Chris Salcedo Show Monday on Newsmax between 4:30 and 5 o'clock Eastern Time. And anything else, I will post. Have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me.